So I'm at the bottom of my property. I've got about 6.5 acres. I'm actually close to a county road. I'm probably 20 feet below where the road is, and that's probably 40 yards away. And the water here, it's nice and calm right here, kind of trickling, very clear. There are frogs, and frogs are about the only thing I see in the water. There's some algae down there, and part of the reason there's not fish is this is seasonal. So we've had quite a bit of rain the last month. Within the last week, we had probably 3 days in a row, storms, tornadoes, all kinds of stuff. And it's estimated this area got between 10 and 12 inches of rain over about 2 or 3 day period. And that's been 3 days ago. So this is very seasonal. And one of my goals for this water storage course on this property, and then I've got other property that eventually I'll get a hold of that are completely different, because I'm up on a ridge. It's called Crowley's Ridge or Crowley's Ridge. Northeast Arkansas, runs from Missouri down through Arkansas. I believe I haven't really looked it up to study, but I would guess that this is probably the result of old glacial deposit, simply because we're at 60 to 100 feet above the flatlands on either side of the ridge. So it's very, very flat. Delta rice land to the west, to the east. Mississippi River is a few miles, probably about 30 miles that direction. So that's the delta. But we're 60 to 100 feet above, and when doing earthworks and digging up here, there's a lot of rocks that look like river rocks. They're very rounded. So there's a lot of clay, but there is a lot of sand here as well. There are sand and gravel quarry a few miles south of here, but there's a lot of clay here as well, kind of red clay. But one of my goals for this property is to try to get this to run longer through the year, and potentially all year long. I don't know if I've got control of enough of it to be able to do that, even if I start at the very top, which is where I'm going to start. But I would like to be able to capture this, infiltrate it obviously, have it running more year round, at least towards the bottom, and possibly even dig some of this out to make year-round pools. A little bit, not too much earthwork here. I'll probably do more like leaky dams, weirs, gabion kind of stuff on this portion, going the main portion going up. But I would like to have a couple of small kind of ponds. There's another part of the property a little bit higher up that I'd like to put a major pond in for fish, aquaculture, and for other reasons. But one of the main reasons for this section, I want it to be more year-round. One is just to hydrate the landscape, but also as a source of water for game, because half of the property I'm going to try to leave as natural as possible, with some little bit of earthworks and stuff for game. We've got a lot of deer that come through here, squirrel, rabbit, and I'd like to encourage even more of that. So that's the goal for this portion. We've got privet, different kinds of oak, sweet gum, red buckeye, yellow buckeye, green, there's a green briars kind of plant here, poison ivy all over the place, and not sure what else. I know that on the property I've got wild plum, black cherry, wild raspberry. There's some yucca that somebody's planted and escaped a little bit. What else? I That's all I can think of right now. I'm still trying to learn how to identify a lot of this. But let's go upstream a little bit and kind of see how this looks and how it meanders. I am seeing a lot of roots. There's a lot of roots and stuff in there from the trees. Like, look how rounded that is. There is not enough water flowing in here to have caused that to be that smooth. So somewhere this has been around a lot of water and been tumbled a lot. And I don't think this area has that much within the last 100 years. Splits. So that right over there is where we were. Here's another little split coming through. Whenever the water gets up a little bit, you see it's already down. It's not flowing over anymore. Here's kind of a main body, and we're looking northwest. We got deer track. Heard a frog drop. Kind of likewise the way a river, when it gets up and it makes these little eddies, we've got a little horseshoe that it comes around, or it has come around before, and it got up high enough in the last month a couple times to flood this, but now it's back in its main channel. Keep hearing frogs dropping in. I'd like to have this much flow most of the year. It'd be cool. And maybe a couple of places deep enough for some small fish, big enough to eat mosquitoes' larvae. Yep, so we're just kind of winding northeast. Again, main channel. And here's a bit of an overflow. And it has overflown enough times to do some erosion here, but it's not the main channel. So you can kind of see the grass, how it's flowing towards us, going uphill. You see a lot of the leaves and debris from when it was coming through really heavy. But again, the main channel. And there's plenty of these little places where roots or down trees have fallen and creating silt traps and stuff. And I just kind of like to expand upon that a little bit maybe. I don't think I want to do the gully stuffing necessarily, because I'm not necessarily trying to reduce the size of the gully. I just want to keep more water. There's a bunch of red buckeye, and I can see bumblebees and other things pollinating it over there. Kind of go through this little overflow wash. We got a little wash here. We got a bigger wash there. Now, part of the overflow for this is looking more east, and it goes, my property goes a little ways up there, but it goes uphill. So there's 2 or 3 washes going uphill that will come down here. And one of the things I want to do is I'm going to start with my immediate neighbor close to where my cabin is. And then this acreage, there's a few hundred acres totally wooded over here. And I want to get a hold of the owner there and see if I could start doing some weirs, some silt traps, whatever would be appropriate, starting as high as possible on the top of the ridge, coming down again to kind of slow the water down, hydrate all of that area, which hopefully would help them out as well, because I think it's mainly used for hunting. So anything we can do to hydrate it and keep it green and lush longer and have more water up there, of course they're gonna have more game as well. So it should be all for that. And the higher I can start in the landscape doing that, then the more it's gonna help me, and the longer we're gonna have water here. And of course having that wildlife corridor will help me as well. But this area of Arkansas averages about 50 to 53 inches of rain a year. Our dry spell is usually June to July. We may go about 6 weeks with no rain. So we've got one wash coming this way. We've got another one coming this way. They come together. So we got kind of a little island right here. I've got plenty of material, down trees and brush and stuff to use for constructing whatever I need to, creating biochar, and of course leaving a lot of it as natural litter. You might be able to see a little bit of a clearing where those pile of logs is. That's kind of the that's a power utility easement that I've turned into my access road or my driveway, and that's kind of the midpoint. It bisects my property more or less diagonally. So this is still the area that I'm trying not to do very much to, other than, you know, the water work. My zone 5, you might say. About half of the property, about 3 acres. And it is on the south, the downhill, down catchment, southern and eastern portion. So I'm between the 2 little washes here. So again, we've got a nice little pool right here, but no fish because it's not here all year. Still got evidence of where water came down really heavy during some of these last storms. Now this little area almost looks like a mini delta. Goes across the road, and I'll show you here in a little bit. So that crosses my driveway that bisects the property and goes uphill. So this is the main place where water from the south travels north on the property. Over here, pretty much everything comes from the east, you know, and collects. This is a primary deer run. There's deer coming through here all the time. I've got game cameras up. I've also got fox, coyote, raccoon, skunk, lizard or salamander running through there. So again, this is kind of going uphill and on the eastern portion, more or less. You might be able to see there's a big wash right here. So at some point the water went this way and eroded out, but the channel's kind of moved over to this side. But if it gets deep enough, there's a bunch of trash and litter and stuff. But I am now more or less, see that concrete block right there, I am pretty much at the eastern edge of my property. There's a stake, there's a concrete block. You might be able to see a building up there. That's kind of the property line. This is uphill and to the east. And this is the property owner I'd like to get a hold of and see how far I could go up, and if they would allow me to start doing, I may have to do some on my side just to kind of show them what it is and what it does, and see if they would let me extend it more uphill to try to keep this going. And I mean, the trees are so much denser right here. This area, supposedly about 40 years ago, was actually grazed. I don't think it was clear cut, because some of the trees do appear to be more than 40 years old. I don't know trees well enough to be sure. Looks like a bunch of some kind of shaggy bark. I don't know if that's hickory or oak, what those are, but of course they're not on my property. But that's going uphill to the east. This is definitely if there's a massive overflow, then this would keep it within the banks. Got my mushroom yard over there. It's a little bit steep going uphill. Red stakes for property line. Got a level pad here, put an RV on it. So I think I want to get rid of it and put an actual cabin, build a cabin here. That is what's supposed to be my classroom and microscopy lab, but I'm actually using it as the cabin as well to stay in. Totally solar powered, other than occasional use of a generator. So yeah, this area you had to walk through or maybe use a quad or a dirt bike when I bought it, and I've been able to turn this easement into a road, bringing in gravel little by little to make it, ensure it's passable. So this is the area we were at a while ago when I said the water looked like a little delta area, and the water came from uphill across the road. So that's this, and it's fairly level here and goes up. This area I've got in mind, little by little, clearing this bottom land. Depending on how fast I can work, I may spend a year or two with it just cleared, and since it'll have the best soil on the property, I may garden here for a year or two, on part or all of it. But eventually, from down there up to where it meets the property line, I would like to dig this out as a big pond. I don't want to build a dam and raise the water level up, because then it would start back flooding onto my neighbor's property. I want to take the height of the boundary where it's at right now, so that water's coming in, take that as the top of the water level, and only build up as much as needed to have it that level all the time, but dig down. So make it deeper, not raise it up. So more of a pond, not a dam. Take the good topsoil, put it to the garden part. I need to survey it when I get more cleared, see what that height, what it's going to make the bowl. And rather than just having a big open pond, have 2 or 3 peninsulas or more out in it, almost Chinampa style. Not totally free floating, where you'd need a bridge or a boat to get to it, but have some peninsulas out in the water just to extend the edge, extend the growing area, things of that nature, but have it deep enough, an appropriate height and depth at different places to have some fish for mosquito larvae eating, as well as just protein. And then if I want to use it for watering the garden, if I've got the fish in there, then that adds a little bit of aquaponics kind of thing to it. And we can go up here. See where the Starlink is sitting, that is the property line. Kind of goes diagonal across this easement. So again, the owners up there, I want to get with them. And on this easement, it all comes down, you can see some of this erosion. I want to take my Grillo with the rotary plow and see if they'll let me make some on contour swales to slow that down. Hydrate it, reduce the erosion, hydrate this. I may try to run chickens on it in a tractor when I'm down here full time, but any overflow that doesn't get soaked in, I want it redirected to that side or to that side, more for the erosion, but also so that it'll go into those channels so that I can capture it. Leveled this off for the shed, starting to do a few gardens. It's not perfectly level, and I didn't perfectly survey and level it, but it's getting there. Had a little bit of overflow with the really heavy rains. I've got almost unlimited wood chips I can get. It's really just based on my time and physical effort to go get it, build that up, build my big sponge. So this is the upper terrace. So I'm starting as high in the landscape as I can. Here's the boundary line where I cleared it and piled the brush up. Red stake is the property line there, one over there. That's habitat. That is a silt trap. Try to keep some of the erosion down. I don't pile stuff up and burn it for no reason. Everything that I cleared, I clear it mainly for the sun exposure, for the solar and stuff like that. But as I cleared it, I just piled it up in a windrow here as a big silt trap. So there's habitat, silt trap, slow down the water. And that's been there about 3 years now. Little bit of erosion from the really heavy rain, but not much. For the most part, it's done what I intended it to do, building it up, breaking down, creating that terrace. These wild cherries came up. I did not plant those, they just came up. There's winged elm. I've actually been pruning that back. Wild cherry. I've got not grapes, but similar to a grapevine. I'll think later. Still got some cleanup to do from this last tree, and I've got more trees I need to bring down, or at least shorten, simply for solar aspect. But that's the upper terrace. I'm going to try to really focus on that and get that planted out and done as much as possible. And then I'll start on this one, and it may be 1 or 2 terraces. That is south for the most part. So as I clear it, we get more sun in there, flatten and terrace it out. That will become more garden back in that area as well. Again, trying to slow down the water and everything. This area, as I'm backing up, maybe a little bit more of a driveway, and I may put a shop or some other building, at least a couple of shipping containers or something, would be able to walk through there for secure storage. And could eventually put the ultimate, cabin here, but then this would overlook the pond when it gets there. And I go all the way up to the ridge again. The county road is up there, and that is to the west. So I'm going to try to develop it from the top down to the pond. If I'm still alive, still have time and everything else like that, I'll start developing that side, and I will start at the top, coming down, doing some terracing, some things like that. Leave a few trees there, but a lot of them will probably end up going down, because if I've got the time and the energy and everything, that will eventually be the orchard and the nursery and the market garden. And since that's got the east and the southeast sun exposure or aspect, that would be the best area, most sun, most appropriate sun for vegetables and things of that nature. But I'm just trying to start on as far away as possible from the road, just for privacy and stuff, until I can get to that. Don't know if or when I'll get to that. But that is this property, 6.5 acres, Northeast Arkansas, Crowley's Ridge. And this is going to be my primary property to focus on for me. If I can find somebody to do, quote, a project for somewhere else, I'll do that. And then I've got 900 acres of precision leveled flat crop, row crop flat land to that I've got in my mind working on, that I'm going to inherit or expect to inherit. I'm the only surviving child, and of that there's a 140 acre field that's of my primary concern right now, that I'm trying to develop a plan for, so that when I do get it, control of it, I can hit the ground running with a plan for rehabilitating that. Hopefully this hasn't been too boring, but this is the property I've got to work with.